The yogi should then meditate on his moon-like navel in the center of his abdomen. From his navel, which is the foundation of the entire universe, sprang the lotus stem containing all the different planetary systems. The lotus is the residence of Brahma, the first created being. In the same way, the yogi should concentrate his mind on the Lord's nipples, which resemble a pair of most exquisite emeralds and which appear whitish because of the rays of the milk-white pearl necklaces adorning his chest. The yogi is advised next to meditate upon the navel of the Lord, which is the foundation of all material creation. Just as a child is connected to his mother by the umbilical cord, so the firstborn living creature, Brahma, by the supreme will of the Lord, is connected to the Lord by a lotus stem. In the previous verse, it was stated that the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, who engages in massaging the legs, ankles, and thighs of the Lord, is called the mother of Brahma. But actually, Brahma is born from the abdomen of the Lord, not from the abdomen of his mother. These are inconceivable conceptions of the Lord, and one should not think materially. How can the father give birth to a child? It is explained in the Brahma Samhita that each limb of the Lord has the potency of every other limb, because everything is spiritual. His parts are not conditioned. The Lord can see with his ears. The material ear can hear but cannot see. But we understand from the Brahma Samhita that the Lord can also see with his ears and hear with his eyes. Any organ of his transcendental body can function as any other organ. His abdomen is the foundation of all the planetary systems. Brahma holds the post of the creator of all planetary systems, but his engineering energy is generated from the abdomen of the Lord. Any creative function in the universe always has a direct connecting link with the Lord. The necklace of pearls which decorates the upper portion of the Lord's body is also spiritual, and therefore the yogi is advised to gaze at the whitish luster of the pearls decorating his chest. So we see Lord Kapila describing to his mother further directions about how a yogi should meditate on the Lord, on the different aspects of the Lord. And in this verse, Lord Kapila is saying, the dhyayet one should meditate upon. Nabhi hridham bhuvana kosha guhodharastham. One should, on his Nabhi hridham, on his lotus navel, and the lotus navel lake, hridham is a lake, bhuvana kosha guhodharastham. All the different planetary systems are situated, guhodharastham, are situated on his Nabhi hridham. And yatra atma yoni dhishana, and that is where Brahma, atma yoni, one who is the self-created, his dhishana, his abode, his residence is, and Akhila Loka Padmam, and on that lotus, which is the residence of Brahma, all the Loka Padmam, Akhila Loka Padmam, all the planets are assembled there in the stem of that lotus. Vyudham, and that lotus has sprung up from that Nabhi hridham, from the navel lake. Harinmani vrishasthanayora mushya, and the Lord's chest, on his chest you find the nipples, and the nipples are like harinmani, they are like emeralds, very beautiful, amushya of the Lord. And on all of this dhyayet, Dvayam vrishastanayor. Dvayam harinmani vrishastanayor. The two nipples are like the harinmani. Vishadahara, and he has a pearl necklace. Mayuka gauram, and it is shining. And there is luster, light, bright light coming from the Vishadahara, from the pearl necklace. So, the yogi should then meditate, dhyayet, on his moon-like navel in the center of his abdomen, nabhi hridham. From his navel, which is the foundation of the entire universe, bhuvana kosha guhodharastham, sprang the lotus stem, vyudham, containing all the different planetary systems, akhila loka padmam. The lotus is the residence of Brahma, Atma Yoni, Dishana, residence of Brahma, the first created being, Atma Yoni. In the same way, the yogi should concentrate his mind, dhyayet, on the Lord's nipples, sthanayor, amushya sthanayor, which resemble a pair of most exquisite emeralds. Harinmani, Purusha Harinmani, and which appear whitish because of the rays of the milk white pearl necklaces, Vishadahara, adorning his chest. The rays of the milk white, Mayuka Gauram, Vishadahara, Dhyayet, one should meditate on. So, very elaborate descriptions of the Lord's form. Thank you. How his abdomen is, how there is a lotus stem sprouting, and all of the planets are assembled in that. And so all of this is described, and that the yogi should meditate on all of these different features and details of the Lord's transcendental form. Now, it's very interesting, we should notice the strategy that Srila Prabhupada uses to explain all of these kind of descriptions in the Vedic literatures. Generally, there have been many other religious leaders and teachers from our country who have explained this in modern times. And generally, when they hear these kind of descriptions, they say that this is all mythology. Actually, it's a very dangerous word in English. The word mythology, myth means a widely held but false idea or belief. That's the meaning of a myth. Large number of people believe in it. It's widely held, false belief or a false idea. So, but modern Indians don't understand the repercussions of these words, and yes, mythology, Ramayana, Mahabharata, these are all our mythologies. Because if you say that this is all mythology, if Vishnu, Krishna, the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, these are all mythology, just widely held, popularly held, false beliefs and ideas. If you say that, then the very personality of Krishna, Vishnu, all of them, you're reducing it to some kind of an false belief and imagination. So most of these people, they use this word mythology. These are myth, you have to go beyond that. There is some other meaning beyond that. You just take the meaning. And ultimately, these people say that, yes, in this universe there is some kind of a force you cannot deny. So generally they are coming to an impersonal conclusion. They say that there is some force, there is some higher energy we cannot deny. But don't give any form to that energy, to that higher truth. So they are ready to accept that there is a higher truth. There is some kind of a force and energy in the universe which is governing this universe. But then they say that just for less intelligent people, this mythology is present. But actually you must understand that there is some kind of a force behind this universe we cannot deny. It looks like intellectually quite sophisticated, that yes, there is some energy behind. So they think that to give a form, to give a name, all of that, if you give a form, then they are not intellectually, they are intellectually uncomfortable. If you say God has a form, they feel that form limits us. Just like I'm sitting in this room. I don't know what's happening behind this wall because I am localized. Because I have a form and I am localized, I don't know what happens behind this wall or some other part of the city or some other part of the world. I am localized. So if God is localized in a form, then he would also have these limitations. So that is why they want to overcome that. And if you say God has a name, then you are making it very sectarian. Hindu God, Muslim God, Christian God, Indian God, American God, what's all this? So they want to move away from these kind of a thing, and so they say that there is an impersonal God. There is an impersonal energy which different people and common people, simple people, they have some myth and beliefs and such things. But we are, more intellectual like that. That's some kind of a understanding they come up with. So how did Srila Prabhupada explain these things? Because Prabhupada went to Western countries and he was addressing such Western audience. And when he had to describe that there are Vaikuntha lokas and there are Vaikuntha, Vishnu is there with 4 arms, not just 2 arms, 4 arms. And he has a bluish body. And there are other residents in the Vaikuntha who also have 4 arms. So how did Srila Prabhupada explain all these things? Srila Prabhupada's strategy is the same strategy that the Vedic literatures present and what the previous acharyas have presented. Srila Prabhupada went about explaining that how we as human beings, when we try to acquire knowledge with our senses and the mind, we have 4 defects. We have imperfect senses, we are subject to illusion, we commit mistakes, and we have a cheating propensity. These are considered to be the 4 defects of a conditioned soul. So when a conditioned soul relies on his senses, on his mind, on his intelligence, on logic, then these 4 defects come into play and he will not be able to have a complete understanding of the truth. He will be limited. So we shall not go by what the senses tell us, what our mind and intelligence tells us, but we should go by what the Shastras describe, which is apaurusheya jnana. This is not man-made knowledge. This is a knowledge that has descended from Krishna himself. That's what the description of the scriptures are. And so we should take this knowledge as it is, and we should know that our own cognitive powers have their limitations. And Srila Prabhupada often gave the example of a logic, what is known as Kupa Mundaka Nyaya, the frog in the well. And in a very dramatic way, Srila Prabhupada narrated that story, that nyaya. Nyaya means logic. These are there. In Sanskrit, there are these nyayas, Kupa Manduka Nyaya and Matra Nagna Nyaya. So, like this, there are many examples. There are logic that are used in the Vedic literatures, and that helps us to understand. So, this Kupa Manduka Nyaya is about a frog who was born in a well. You know how in a small well, a frog sometimes it's not so clean and tadpoles are there and it becomes a frog, and the frog jumps around there eating some flies and lives all his life, and the frog cannot come out because it's in a kupa, it's in a well, deep well. So whole life, his life is confined to the well experience. And one day, another frog fell into this well. And so this frog from the well said, "Oh, where have you come from?" And that other frog said, "I have come from the Atlantic Ocean." And so this frog thought that, "Oh, Atlantic Ocean? You have come from some other outside?" So he thought that, "Oh, you mean it's another well like this? The Atlantic Ocean is another well like this? My well is 5 feet diameter." So the other frog said, no, this is so small. The Atlantic Ocean is so big." So he started, "Oh, you mean bigger than this? It's twice as big?" He said, "No, it is 3 times as big." All these kind of calculation the frog in the well is making about the Atlantic Ocean, about which this frog has no experience. This is the logic that the Vedic literatures give, that we as human beings, we have a certain experience of this world. And all our life we are confined to this world, and we have a certain experience of this world. And when we hear about something that is transcendental, the spiritual world, we start thinking that the spiritual world should be in terms of my experience of this world. Here we see human beings have 2 hands. How can you say in the spirit there is a spiritual world, they have 4 hands? We understand we all have 1 head. How can you say there is a world where there is Brahma who has got 4 heads? This must all be mythology. So this is just like the frog in the well, when he heard that, there's an Atlantic Ocean which is 1,000,000 times bigger than this well. He said, "This is mythology. Atlantic Ocean is what a belief that you have. It's just a false belief you are having." So this is the strategy that the acharyas and the scriptures adopt to present these truths, and this is exactly what Srila Prabhupada did. He was not resorting to some kind of an apologetic idea that no, these are just stories, don't worry. Something beyond that, there is a truth and there is an impersonal truth. That is not the way acharyas have explained. That is not the way the Vedic literatures are to be understood. Srila Prabhupada, as a representative of the acharya, was presenting this as it is. This is the beauty. Prabhupada was not at all hesitant to explain that yes, there is a spiritual world, there are beings with 4 hands, there are beings with 4 heads, and all of these are truths, but we may not be able to see that. Actually, to have an idea, to understand, actually in science, scientists are beginning to understand that we have an experience of a three-dimensional space, but the truth is that it is not that the world is only having three dimensions. There are a lot of, in modern physics, in today's world, they say that it is not that there is no physical law which says that the space should have only three dimensions. On the other hand, there are many, many indications that show that there are more than three dimensions. Imagine there is a fourth dimension. How can we understand that? Our human cognitive powers don't allow us to imagine a fourth dimension. We can only see three dimensions: left, right, front, back, up and down. These are the three dimensions that we can understand. We just can't imagine. But there are, according to modern science, there is very much possibility of having multiple dimensions, and scientists do believe that such dimensions exist. So, this is very similar to saying that our ability to understand this world and know this world has its limitations. So we cannot just be confined to what our experience is. This is exactly the kind of argument that Srila Prabhupada used. That otherwise, how do we explain why there are human beings with 2 hands and 2 legs and 1 head, 2 ears? How do we explain this form? How do we explain why there are 2 kinds of human beings, men and women? What is the reason? What is the basis of this? Why is it the world this way? Why is it that we don't have 3 hands or 2 heads? What is the reason? What is the basis of this form? So, people come up with this argument, that anthropomorphic argument, that because we are human beings, we imagine God to be like us, hands, legs, head, and so on. If animals had the ability to imagine, they would probably come up with a God, a zoomorphic God, with 4 legs and a tail and all those kind of things. So it's just anthropomorphic idea that God has a head and all of these kind of things. So this is what some of the people come up with, these kind of arguments. But actually our counter to that is, what is the basis of the human form? Why is the human form the way it is? Male, female, 2 hands, 2 legs, hair here, and all of these kind of things. What is the basis? And Srila Prabhupada also often quoted in his purports from the Bible, which says that man is made in the image of God. No, our form itself, the basis for our form is God's form. So it is not anthropomorphic argument. Our argument is theomorphic argument. Our form itself, the basis for our form itself is God's form. That is the basis. And from Krishna consciousness, we understand that living entities who wanted to imitate Krishna, they came into this world, they wanted to deny Krishna, and they wanted to imitate his activities. So, and his plans and his activities of enjoyment. So the living entities wanted to, so Krishna has given them different kinds of bodies, including the body which resembles his own form, so that we can experience all the different kinds of things that Krishna experiences. We can try. It will never satisfy us. It will never be possible, but we can try. So that's how the living entities have been given these different forms. So, This is the truth, but with our own intelligence, we will never be able to arrive at any of this understanding. Because this is a transcendental reality. Our mind, our senses are all products of creation. And the Lord is beyond creation. The Lord's existence is beyond creation. We are having a body, we are having a brain, we are having mind, intelligence, senses. All of this is creation of this universe. Part of the creation. Using this, we cannot go beyond. So this is the understanding. And even in the Vedic processes, some of the processes in the Vedas are to control the senses, to control the mind, and then to speculate. Even if one does all that, one cannot attain the understanding of the spiritual truth. That's why the famous verse, Pantastu koti shatavatsara sampragamyo vayorathapi manaso muni pungavanam sopyasti yat prapada simnya vichintya tattve. This verse says, Pantastu koti shatavatsara sampragamyo vayorathapi manaso. There are two paths this verse is referring to. One process is vayu, controlling the breath. Vayorathapi manaso muni pungavana. Another is to control the mind and use the mind and the intellect. So it's referring to the Ashtanga Yoga, the pranayama process, and the other one is the jnana process, where they use their mind and intellect. Munipang pungavanam. Even the foremost of the sages, who either take to the breathing exercises and all of that, or they engage in speculation using their mind. And you may do this for millions of years. Pantastu koti shata vatsara sampragamyo. Vatsara means year, shata. Koti shata vatsara. Millions of years one may do all of these. But sopyasti yat prapada simnya vichintya tattve. Pada means feet. Prapada. Pada means feet. Prapada means the edge of the feet, which means the toes. The toes, simnya means the tip of the toes. So pyasti yat prapada simnya vichintya tattve. So the Lord's true nature is avichintya tattve. So the same point Prabhupada has mentioned here also here, that these are inconceivable conceptions of the Lord, and one should not think materially. Generally we think from our experience. That is thinking materially. We should not think materially, and these are inconceivable conceptions of the Lord. The Lord has a form, He has got, there is a lotus stem coming from His sprout. These things cannot be understood by speculation. Even if we speculate for millions of years, it is only by the descending process of knowledge. When we receive this knowledge from the Shastras, from the Acharyas, and practice the various practices given, one will become qualified to understand this information. So this is the process that the Vedic literatures actually present to understand transcendental reality. And we must take these statements of the Vedic literatures as it is. There is no need to interpret them. There is no need to speculate and say that this is some mythology or any such thing. This is not the way any of the acharyas have presented. And Srila Prabhupada also has mentioned here, but Brahma holds the post of the creator of all planetary systems, but his engineering energy is generated from the abdomen of the Lord. Any creative function in the universe always has a direct connecting link with the Lord. So many wonderful things that we see in this world, they are wonderful, and any creative force is actually coming from the Lord Himself. So that is the So that is the way one should understand this, not by some kind of a speculation. So that is the transcendental form of the Lord that the yogi is asked to meditate upon. And because this is part of the transcendental reality, when one meditates on this transcendental reality and associates with the Lord, one becomes purified, and then the Lord will reveal in the heart of the yogi the Lord's transcendental form. We'll stop here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.